Cool. Right, guys, so obviously overhead squats we've been working on. So a lot of people struggle with the overhead squat. You know, we'll see forward folding, in that position, arms coming forwards. So ultimately what we're trying to do is understand why each of us do one of the 2 or 3 things that we normally see. So we're going to look at ankles, we're going to look at thoracic mobility, we're going to look at lats as well. Obviously doing it once a week is, scratching the surface, and, you need to be practicing this, 3-4 times a week if you want to seriously get better at it. You don't need to be heavy, but just practice it. So what we want ultimately, so when we fold here in that normal squat stance for 1 or 2 or 3 reasons, often that bar, will then be way behind us, which we can't really do with our shoulders with the weight on it, or the bar falls forward and it's impossible to keep there. So we want to try and aim for the bar stacked directly over the base of the neck there, and then that will then in turn be in line with the heels. Okay, so in that position there, between the heels and the midfoot is where we're aiming for with that bar in terms of its trajectory. Now, if you fold forward, one of the things that we can do just to test that is just to see whether or not we've got the ankle mobility that's required to do the movement. So we take the palm in front of the wall, put the thumb in line with the toes, and then we've got to keep this heel on the floor. And if the knee can touch the wall, then you've got enough ankle mobility to do an overhead squat. If not, without keeping that heel coming up to get in there, then you would look to try and create a short-term fix, which I did with a gentleman doing some PT work on Friday, where we put the heels on, we raise the heels a little bit, so we take the ankle mobility out of this, all right? That's a short-term fix, which often then results in a little bit less stress through the lower part of the leg, okay? And we're in there, and we squat, and suddenly that's a lot more doable, all right? Obviously, that's a short-term fix. Longer term, you want to be thinking about getting yourself a foam roller and doing drills such as this. So where we open up there, we're going to let the foam roller rest between the calf and the heel, and we'll rock side to side, and that just helps to open up the soleus muscle a little bit, creates a little bit more fluidity around the ankle joint. Then from there, we're going to sit potentially on the foam roller at that point there and open up the ankle joint there. Okay, so that's just 2 things you can do. There's many you can do. All right, so that's the ankle mobility test. So if you fail I'm not going to use the word fail, but if you fail the test, you've got to work on that. Okay, if you don't fail the test, then you know it's not your ankle mobility that's holding you back in this case. All right. The next thing we're going to do is check that you're not gripping the bar too narrow. Okay, so that's another problem we see is there, and we haven't got space to get the shoulders back. So the test for this is knee at 90 degrees, okay, or one knee 90 degrees, and then the arms are straight at that point, and that's where you need to have the bar. So at that point there, that's when we know we can do like a full pass over. So if anything did go wrong and you're in the bottom of that squat position, you couldn't get out, you can get out of the way, all right? If you hold it too narrow, you'll never get out of the way in time, okay, and that's not a good place to be. Arms straight, that's the test position, and then we're overhead, all right? So that's just a little bit on grip. If you've got really mobile or a lack of mobility there, you can go a bit wider. If you've got good shoulder stability and good mobility, you can come a bit narrower. It does improve your strength a little bit. So that's the second thing. The third thing we're going to talk about is what you do with the bar. Okay, so if the bar's overhead here, often what we'll see is the elbows bending a little bit and it's a bit too passive. Okay, so you need to press up into the bar. So I'm not saying shrug and try and hide your ears with your shoulders, but just press the hands up into the bar, and then you're going to squat into that position there, and it avoids this bending of the elbows, which we sometimes see, okay? All right, so if you've got the strength to press that weight overhead, there's no reason why those elbows should bend, really, okay? So that's the active shoulders. The next thing we're going to do, so the sort of test now for the thoracic mobility. So what I get you to do is just kneel against the wall, okay? Sit back on your heels, put the inside forearm against the wall, and then I want you to open up here. Okay, so have we got the mobility in the shoulder there? So if I was viewing you from the front, and the camera doesn't need to move, but if I was viewing you from the front, what we're looking to try and do is create a 50-degree angle from the floor up, at least. So if I was to draw a line, it would be at least there, I'd say. Yeah? All right, so that position, forearm on the floor close, obviously you do this on both sides. Yeah, and we're trying to get there, so we hopefully, a little bit further around. All right, so that's that one there. And then the last one we're going to do is more for like shoulder extension. So what we do here is we sit cross-legged, and obviously this sort of mirrors, if you think about the overhead squat, we've got the hips flexed, and then at that position there, we're going to take the arms back, and you know, if I had a wall behind me, hopefully my arms are hitting the wall there, all right? And if they don't, okay, or if they do rather, then we can test it the other way, you know, and how I got it there with palms facing towards the wall. That's a really tough exercise to do, and these exercises I've just shown you are almost mobility drills in themselves if you can't achieve it as yet, all right? So just to take you on a level, so think about this one here. If you struggle with that, the thread the needle exercise, yeah, in there, yeah, you need to be getting into that. You want to be getting the foam roller in the mid upper back, okay, and you want to be hinging, yeah, to open yourself up there. Obviously you can do your normal foam rolling there, but the hinging movement is good. It takes the thoracic area into extension. Okay, so that's just a couple of thoracic drills. There's heaps of those as well. And then the last one for the lats, so if you struggle with that shoulder flexion and extension, okay, I do it that way around, actually, there. So we're in that position there. It's probably one of my personal favourites for the lat stretch. So here, yeah, and I'm opening up and I'm just going to floss in and out there. So I'm opening the armpit into that position, and then I fold round there, open and fold. Okay, obviously I would do that on both sides. You can equally do ones where you're in that position and you can press the armpit towards the floor. I personally prefer that other one because I can get that rotation and hinge in there. All right, guys. So just a little tutorial on the overhead squat. As you can see, there's quite a bit to pick out there, but you need to identify yourselves as to which areas you want to work on. It could be all three. It might be one, and if it's one and it might not be too far away, then we're nearly there. All right.